Hey guys, it's been a while since our original build video. I know I promised to make an updated video and life happened and we traveled a lot, so it's finally here 2 years later. Can you just go over a couple of modifications that I've made in this video and then talk about a few things that I wish that I had done a little bit differently in the original build. So let's hop right into it. Over the windshield we have this pre-curved 50-inch LED light bar worth its weight in gold. This thing will illuminate anything. I've been in like complete darkness and needed to use this, and it was almost like I could see as if the sun was up. So I highly recommend this light bar if you're going to be like off-road or like going into campsites in the dark where you need to light things up. Also have on the running board here a light. It's a 2-inch light made by Crete as well. It is about 2800, I think it's like 2880 lumens to illuminate when I'm backing up. I can pretty much see anything that's behind the truck. So like when you're backing into campsites or you're like off-road or anywhere you need to back up where there's no light behind you, you can see with that. So I recommend those as well. I've added this Arb Awning. I think this is probably one of the first things that I added, and the awning itself, it's the touring edition, so it has an aluminum casing here instead of just like a little vinyl bag. This thing rolls up. The poles kind of like telescopic poles, so they go in, and then the awning actually rolls up and fits into this aluminum casing. It was about $500, so kind of a lot of money for the number of times that I've used it. I've only actually used it maybe 5 times tops in 2.5 years, so I probably could use it more, but I didn't really need it very frequently. So it's something that is permanently affixed to the car now, so there is no really taking it down. So this is one of the things that I'm kind of on the fence about, not necessarily needing it, but I just wanted it because it looked cool when I saw other people had it. It does come with a room that you can adjust here that zips in, and it's essentially like your own personal tent that you can carry around with you everywhere, which makes things very easy. You have like your little own outdoor room with the awning outside of the truck. That's about $300, so you're looking at pretty steep prices. $800 if you're wanting the room and the awning together. I also tinted the front windows. I'm sure if you saw the first video, you saw that I made those bug screens out of the no-see-em screen, and they work really well. And the only problem that I had with them was when we were in areas like Big Bend, places that was really hot, the adhesive on some of the Velcro would start to melt and like run a little bit. So I tinted those windows because they were not originally tinted, just to kind of help with like some of the heat that was coming inside of the windows, to help with like those bug screens. And it's been 2 years, so like I have to replace them because I've lost them or ended up taking them off where the Velcro would slide from where we would be in like 120-degree heat. So I have to replace those or come up with a new option for that in the next couple of weeks. So look for that video. Hopefully I'll be able to like have someone video it and update how I make them and install them. Our tires here, we drove to Alaska and we were there for 3 months, and everything I read says take spare tires, which we have a full spare under the truck. And we drove up to Prudhoe Bay, so we heard all the horror stories about popping tires and you needed 2 tires and gas and all that stuff. Well, we did end up having a flat, and so I ended up buying a set of tires in Fairbanks actually afterwards. And I didn't check before I went to Alaska, but I found out that when I needed my spare tire, that the spare full tire that was on this truck when we originally bought it in 2004, it was like one of the truckers there, he like plugged the tire, we drove it back to Fairbanks, and then the next day I had all the tires changed out. When I got home, I bought these Toyo tires here. These particular tires are about 2 inches taller than the Suburban stock tires. So that was the only thing. And they're all-terrain tires, just because I'm sometimes off-road and like in different terrains, like, you know, different seasons driving. So I just wanted tires that would be okay in like most situations. They were about $220 a pop for each tire, and I have a full spare of one of these tires under the car now, so I know that we're good. On the back of the truck here, we have the stowaway, and this thing right here, I bought it because we went on a cross-country trip with a third person, and we had to like have places to like store a lot of things, and so I purchased this. It was $700. It has this little swing hitch here, swings out. The inside of this, it swings out so you can easily, obviously it's not locked for everyone who's going to comment about it swinging out when you're driving. You lock this thing down, you screw it down, it has a pin that secures it so that it doesn't accidentally pop open, but all of that stuff is just undone to have easy access currently. But I was able to like store about a 4 to 6 person tent, about 4 chairs, 1 or 2 duffel bags, and then like some miscellaneous things in here. This is just the standard size. It's not the largest one that they make. The largest is about $800. It didn't really add very much space. I believe it was only maybe like a few cubic feet more, so I didn't think it was worth paying an extra $100. But I do like this. It's not always on my truck. I do take it off when I'm not traveling. So if I'm going somewhere and I need the extra space, we just put this in the hitch and use it. Otherwise it just stays kind of in the garage, taking up space there. It's one of those things that I think hindsight, if you're needing it, purchase it, but I didn't necessarily need it with just like me and Kai traveling. This was only because I had a third adult, and it was just in case I ran out of room, and it did help with like some of the like crowded areas inside the truck. So, you know, it is what it is, but I spent this money and I don't use it all the time, so I would put this in that category of the awning. Helped me when I needed it, but I don't need it all the time. I also want to go over in the truck. When we were driving, we have had like a couple of issues, and so after our first road trip, I bought a set of tires in Alaska, drove back home, had a set of tires, another set of tires put on. They were a gift. So on our second road trip, we ended up driving across the United States. We spent most of that summer driving on the West Coast. And, you know, on the way back, brand new set of tires that we had. Driving back, we had probably driven about 10,000, 15,000 miles, somewhere in there. And when I got back, the front tires were slick. So at first I thought something was wrong with the tires, and they were under warranty. So I had the company take a look at them and take a look at the truck, and they determined that it was like a weight bearing problem. So obviously, because I had added all the weight with the cabinetry and the bed and the box on the back of the car, the front tires were slick and the back tires were fine. So I had to try to like rectify that problem by trying to even out the weight load on the truck, because it's obviously more heavy in the back and in the front. So, like I said, the front has the leveling kit that raised it up 2 inches. In the back, we ended up adding air shocks so that it could handle up to 1,000 pounds of weight in the back of the car added. It has this little wireless module here that lets me, it controls dually or individually, like the airbags in the back. They're only on the back tires, I didn't put them on the front, but I usually keep the air around 45 in each of these, with the cargo box off and without additional weight inside of the car, like camping gear, that kind of stuff, equipment, clothes. Like if we're traveling, I would definitely increase that PSI to like 55 instead of 45 to keep the load bearing more even. It's pretty much like very simple. It's like air in, air out. No, big things to see there. So I guess I don't need to like increase it and decrease it so you can see the back of the truck will raise or lower, but it deflates pretty quickly. The module can determine if there is a leak in one of these airbags. So it monitors it consistently to make sure that the pressure is even or where it's supposed to be set, and to make sure that there is no leak in either bag. So like a couple of the issues that we've had on our trips were, particularly the trip on the West Coast where we had the tire issues, is I kept hearing a noise on this right rear wheel, and I thought it was the brakes. So luckily we drove all the way back home and discovered that the brake lines needed to be replaced in the rear. So, that was kind of costly, so I had the brake line replaced here as well. That was an unexpected cost, but it was needed just for safety, and luckily it didn't like completely break while we were like driving back. I also had to have I didn't have to have it done, but I just thought it was a good idea to go ahead and get the transmission taken care of. I mean, there is like 150,000 miles on this truck, so, and I've had it since 2004, so there's a lot of mileage on this car. I ended up getting a GM remanufactured transmission. It has a 100,000 mile warranty on it. So like while I'm driving anywhere in the US, if something happens to the transmission, I can take it to the GM like dealership and they will take care of it. So I wanted that peace of mind, especially like if I'm by myself traveling, just to make sure that I don't have to worry about any of like the really major things happening to the car. I've had the 4-wheel drive, the transfer case rebuilt. I've also like I actually, while we were in Arizona, Kai and I sat in the parking lot of like an AutoZone and changed out the little switch case watching YouTube videos. We went and purchased one because when my 4-wheel drive first went out, I thought that was the easy fix. So we replaced that for about $100, but the transfer case needed to be rebuilt. So when I came back home, I just had that taken care of as well. So those are some of the unexpected costs that I've had with like maintenance of the car since we've started driving. And we've probably driven probably about 50,000 miles in like 2.5 years, like driving across the US and across Canada, like from our home to Alaska and then like into Mexico. So I just want to make sure that when I'm traveling that I'm not going to have like any problems with like hardware, like the engine, the transmission, the batteries, alternators. Every time I travel, when I return, I take my car, the truck to the shop and I let them service everything on it to make sure that everything is good. And they actually are really good at looking for problems or things that would cause a problem if I'm traveling. And so it's just helpful and gives me like peace of mind to complete that. I also added a backup camera to the top of the truck here. it can be tricky sometimes. It's here at the top. When you're backing up with the stowaway box on, to know like how far to actually back up, because it does add this extra space. And I didn't want to damage the box, damage someone else's car, or run into anything. It is helpful with the camera and the LED lights on the running board, because it illuminates everything when I'm backing up, so I can see very clearly in like pitch darkness when I'm backing up. It's also a very wide angle camera, so I can see out about 2.5 feet on either side of where the car stops, so I can see pretty much everything that's directly behind the truck. It is connected to the radio system, which I had replaced. It's a Kenwood. It cost about $1,000 to replace that, and that's what the cost of installation as well. But it's touchscreen, it's updated, it has all the bells and whistles that a girl could want in 2021, so I'm really happy with that. If you follow me around the truck, I'll show you probably one of the more expensive things that I've done aside from the transmission. Over here I have the Renogy system. I did replace, before I just had like just PV power, so the DC power from the solar panels to the inverter, which converts the power to AC, so I can actually plug like household appliances into them. But when I was at the Grand Canyon in 2019, I believe it was the end of June, it was snowing. 2 weeks later I was in California and the Sequoia National Park. It was snowing there, so I ran into the problem of it being overcast, not getting enough sun to charge my batteries for what I was using it for, and the temperature was like low at night, so I actually turned the ceramic heaters on, and it was like very warm and toasty in the car all night long until about 5:30 in the morning, and the batteries were getting a little bit low, so the system alarmed. And the only way to charge them is with sunlight, so it's a little bit of a pickle, and it took several hours to get the batteries charged back up. So I learned from that lesson, and along with that I kind of decided that I wanted to run power from the DC from the battery of the car as well, which is what I've just recently had installed also in December. So now the Renogy system that I have, it runs to the battery. I don't have a smart alternator, so there's a module inline, and I'll make a video about the solar system because it's kind of complicated to go over all of those things in like this video, but I will make a video going over how the solar system is charged and how it runs from the car's battery and the inverter and all of that stuff. But I do have the DC to DC MPPT charging system now, which allows me to pull dual charges, so I can pull from the car battery and the solar panels at the same time or individually. The module will stop pulling from the car battery if the car is off or if there's like any issues, so it won't overcharge my gel batteries for my solar panels. So I'm really excited about being able to charge those with the DC from the car battery. So like I said, I will go over this system. It's wired in, new fuses. So there's like a couple of changes just in how it's wired up to the inverter, but other than that, the solar system is the same. And I can't wait to try out to see like how long I can actually run the ceramic heaters and all that stuff with the power from the DC, also helping to charge the solar panels. Because obviously in the winter months when the sun isn't very high, or if it's overcast, if it's raining, if there's a canopy of trees, it all affects like how quickly and how much your solar system is going to charge the batteries. So it affects your power greatly. So I'm very excited about that. But I will go over this in another video. Open up the back of the truck and just go over a couple things. There's nothing really in there right now, and I'm having it at the shop. I usually take stuff out so I don't have to deal with cleaning things over and over again, but I just want to go over a couple things that I would like to change. But before I do that, I just want to mention, in my other video I mentioned that I had to increase the fuse to a 40 amp fuse from 2 15 amp fuses, and people were like freaking out about fires and that kind of stuff. I just want to like preface the videos with, I don't do anything to the solar system or make any changes unless the Renogy team has suggested it. So I went from 30 amps up to 40 amps because I kept popping fuses from what I was trying to run. So that recommendation was made from the manufacturer. Fuse was bought from the manufacturer, and it was easy enough to just replace. So, you know, I'm not trying to teach anyone how to set up a solar system, because you have to really study and understand how to do that. And I would advise that you like read lots and lots of material, call the company that you're wanting to use, like ask them questions. But I don't make any changes to the solar system unless it's clear through the company and they say that it's recommended to use it. But I only do recommended manufacturing changes to my solar system. Just wanted to say that. So now I'll just take a look in the back of the truck. So back here, as you can see, if you looked at the first video, it's some of the bells and whistles are kind of pulled out. I have this. This is just the bed is like partially open, and I will take this out. There's stuff still under here from like camping chairs and stuff. So there is storage space under here. And on the other side, as you can see, like, so there is storage under the bed, because I know there was a lot of questions about if there was actual storage under the beds, and you just have to pull this stuff out. I will say that one of the things that I would definitely have done differently is a lighter bed, which I'm going to replace probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to take the bed out and just redo it so that it's much, much lighter. I probably would have the cabinet I love, and it's perfect for 2 people. I know that there are some options where people have like this open. I would not necessarily recommend that, because if you're going somewhere where you're bumpy or you're like off-road, like the bumping can knock things out of place, so that could be a problem if you're like going on like a long haul kind of trip. So like when we went to Alaska, it would have been a nightmare to have these open. The thing that I would have changed is, instead of having 2 shelves, I would have installed 3, just because it kind of makes things a little easier to organize. But I am very, very, very happy with this shelf. Hasn't created any problems at all. I have plenty of storage room for myself and 1 or sometimes even 2 people in these cabinets. So I would keep that. I still have the television installed. It's like popped up. I would keep that. We use that quite a bit when we were traveling, because, you know, we would just get like Air TV and we'd watch TV right before we like went to sleep and those kind of things. I would say that aside from like the weight of the bed, the size of it and the way that it was made was like perfect. The height here, the way that I came up with the height of the bed was, I had Kai, who's 5'10", actually sit in the car like on the bed and measure like the height clearance. So I just wanted to make sure, since he was taller than I am, I'm 5'7", so I just needed to make sure that he could clear the height. But if you were doing the bed, like, you literally can sit in the car and measure your height clearance is pretty much what you do. Like, so I can increase this or lower it. Also, when you're making the bed, because like I said, this bed was made, the truck whole build was made with a 3-month Alaskan trip in mind. And so when you're building your truck, you have to make sure that you understand like what you're needing in your truck. So if you know you're only going to be gone for a day or 2, you may not need a cabinet. You could use like those little plastic dresser drawers that you can buy for like 15 bucks. if we're somewhere where we're not going to be near stores, we also pack water. So like, you know, I have a lot of like infusion supplies that I have to carry. So the bed height actually is like perfect for all of, which is what's still in here. It's just like medical supplies. I just slide in there that I need to pull out, or like some of the infusion bags, I carry them with me, and sometimes I have like 50 bags up under this bed so that I can pull them out from the front or the back if I'm going to be gone for like 3 months. So, you know, like whenever you're building and you're looking at the videos and you're thinking, oh, let me do whatever this person did, like you have to look at it from your perspective, and how are you going to use this stuff and what are you going to need it for? Because like I said, the awning, the box, a heavy bed, all these things can actually cause other problems that you'll end up like spending money on to fix in the long run. So I just wanted to go like over a little bit of those things, but other than those things I just mentioned, I am extremely happy with everything that we did. I don't know that I would change really, other than I'm gonna pull this bed out and do something much lighter, but it's gonna be the same height. I don't know if I'll add like a drawer in the bottom or not, but other than something like that, and I will post a video if that's what I do. I think that the inside bill was like perfect for what we used it for on our first 3-month trip to Alaska, because we had to take everything we needed with us. So like I couldn't have planned better for that. So if you guys have any questions, just comment below and I'll try to answer them before 2 years. I'll try to get to them like within a week or so. Or if you have questions about anything that I said, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not like, I don't work in a body shop. I have a lot of support that helps me, and I have like a team of people that I tell them now, oh, I want to try this, and they're like, oh yeah, we're in on it. So I have like a group of people that are willing to help me, that, you know, do collision and body work and mechanic stuff for their job. That helps me a lot. So I save a lot of money because I just pay like the manufacturing cost, wholesale prices for these things, and oftentimes I get them put on for free. So it's like very, very helpful, and I'm very thankful for all the help that I get. So like I said, if you have any questions, just like comment them below and I'll try to answer them. So until next time, I'll make another video explaining this new solar system, or anything else that you guys are interested in. So see you later.